iLive Radio, iliveradio.com.
Hey, what's going on, everybody in cyberspace? This is The Groove Show with your boy, the crowd pleaser, DJ Mark Anthony. Don't forget, each and every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., we want to put you in the mood for whatever the night has in store. I'm playing only the best feel-good, party rocking, body-shaking music from funk to soul to reggae to R&B, house to salsa, and much, much more. We call it The Groove each and every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Keep it locked. It's the crowd pleaser, baby. You know how we do. We'll see you on the air. Peace.
Attention all musicians, bands, associations, clubs, and organizations that represent collective styles of music across Canada. Now is the time to rebuild our collective music nation genres like hip-hop, R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, gospel, and more united. The Collective Music Nation is a non-profit organization committed to the development of collective music. Free memberships are available now. The Collective Music Nation. One voice, strength in unity.
Need a personal shopper? Christmas, Boxing Day, and New Year's is just around the corner. Show up in style. I'll do the runaround for you so you don't have to. Contact me, Delicia Henry, your personal shopper and stylist, at bechic.notbougie@gmail.com.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
The number one hit music station.
Hello, hello, and welcome to this beautiful Sunday to our show, Womanhood. If it's your first time, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And for all of our returning listeners, thank you for continuing to rock with us as we, go through this womanhood journey along with you and talk about all the things that are near and dear to our heart and that we believe is important for all of us to know and share. So before we start, to all of our YouTube listeners, could you just like and subscribe? And of course, be sure to comment throughout the show. We love to receive your comments and we love to speak on them as well. So continue to do that, whether you're listening live or you're checking in after the fact. Just want to remind you to do that. Okay, so I am Lady T. After all that.
Everyone, I'm Tanya Nicole.
And we are here. And today we're going to be talking about
self-love. I'm
self-love.
Really excited about this series. It's a 6-part series. We'll do this once a month, the last Sunday of every month. And I'm putting my heart and soul into getting you guys the information that will help all of us as women to grow. I'm not perfect. My sister here is not perfect. We're all just trying to do the best that we can. So
absolutely, this
platform is really a learning platform. I've already been learning tons of good stuff about the subject of self-love. That's creating some heightened awareness for myself that I'm really excited about sharing with you guys. Not to mention, we have a wonderful special guest coming on today, actress, producer Braylee Evans. She'll be on shortly. So I'm really excited about this.
Yes, I'm really excited too, especially to have that conversation with Braylee. Okay, so what are we going to start with today? Actually, first I want to ask you, how's your weekend been going?
It's been busy. It's been busy. So I'm in this space where I'm just like, all right, I need to take a little time out to breathe.
Okay.
And I'm going to spend some time probably later on today or early tomorrow to recenter myself. I don't know if you ever felt that way. You had a hectic week and everything is all over the place. And spiritually, you kind of feel like, okay, wait a minute, I need to get centered. So I'm in that space where I'm going to be spending some time centering myself. Ironically enough, though, every time I start to do research or I'm reading on this self-love, it's been so helpful. It's like a place for me to stay grounded. But overall, I will be spending more time in meditation this week to get recentered. How about yourself?
For me, I did kind of pretty much my usual. Had date night again on Friday night, so I always look forward to date nights. And yesterday, I was working on a little something. I'm not going to talk about it yet, but I have something in the works right now that's making me extremely excited, and I can't wait to, tell everybody what it is and share it with the whole world. So I've been really focused on just trying to get that done. And otherwise, I've just been relaxing. Last night, spent some time watching Top Boy with my hubby, which was a really intriguing show. Wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I actually did. So after that, just slept, woke up, and here I am, just really excited to get this topic started, because self-love is something that I speak so often about, and it's so important, and it's something that we have to kind of tap into from time to time. Number one, to learn about it, and number two, just to remember to continue to love on ourselves, because it's really important, and just to have some really good insight and some self-reflection as well, extremely important. So yeah, I'm really excited about this topic today, so let's get it started.
Yeah. So before we get everything started and Braylee comes on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote something from an author by the name of Michael Cavallero, because it perfectly sums up my intention for this self-love series. And I quote, "The focus of this journey is always about you. It is not a focus on how others see you, behave towards you, or treat you. When you focus on the outside world, it is a distraction. It distracts you from you and keeps you in the drama. For many people, many people love to distract themselves through addictions, work, behaviors, family, hobbies, and many other things. But here, the focus is on you." And I totally relate to the work part, because I used to be a workaholic and didn't understand why. Many people think addictions mostly pertains to drugs, alcohol, sex, or eating, right? But there are so many other behaviors that we do impulsively that are addictive behaviors that we often overlook. But when we discover that these behaviors, such as overdoing it with hobbies or overdoing it with work, that it could be an indication that you're not really paying attention to why you're obsessive about some of these behavior. That is one way to start looking into areas where we need to love ourselves a little more.
Okay, absolutely. I completely agree. Believe it or not, for many, self-love is truly a foreign concept. So do we fully understand what self-love is?
Exactly.
Makes you wonder.
It makes us wonder. So I know Braylee should be on shortly, right? Coming on shortly?
I don't see anybody yet, or maybe I do.
Okay.
I'll check. Nope, not yet.
All right, so she's not here yet.
Yeah.
So I guess when she comes on, I'll do the little introduction thing.
Okay. Well, I can just speak for myself in terms of what you mentioned that the author spoke about, distracting myself, for, I would say, about 10 years. Well, 12 years, I've been, pursuing education through various steps. And I can say I've definitely kept myself extremely busy. Same thing, not really understanding why, just thinking, I was kind of in that hustle mode, that boss girl mode that everybody talks about, wearing myself completely thin and not understanding, there were a lot of things that I was probably neglecting, to kind of face without realizing it. And by the time all of that kind of slowed down, because I had to slow down, I kind of had no choice. It really hits you square in the face, like, pow, what's happening here and why? And you really have to, turn inward and say, okay, I feel like, I am a lover of myself, but maybe I'm not the way that I thought I was. So it's It's an interesting journey, that in of itself, right? To discover who you truly are, and do you like the things that, you know, are deep down, all of the ugly, I like to call it, and, you know, just come to terms with that and not feel the shame of your past, because we experience, we live, right? And a lot of the times we go through situations and we kind of just put them to the wayside and we continue to move on, but we're not realizing that there's a part of us even in that that needs to be healed in order for us just to come a little bit more closer to our inner being. So anyway.
And something you said, I went through the same thing, from work, being on the road, traveling all over the place. And when things stopped and slowed down, I had kind of addictive reactions. Almost like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be doing something. I did not want to sit still. And what I've learned is that there were some things that I was not facing in myself.
Yeah.
By keeping myself busy, I was automatically, you know, avoiding it without even realizing it.
Without
so
realizing
stuff,
it.
and we'll talk a little bit more, is subconscious. We don't even realize why we do some of the things that we do. So it's funny that you mentioned that you had the same experience. Like when everything just stopped, you're looking around like, wait a minute, I need something. I need something. I need something. And before you know it, you're just like on this crash, like, I'm actually feeling emotions.
Yes. Yeah.
Emotions.
Yeah. I'm crying and I don't know why I'm crying. And, and I know that COVID definitely made a lot of people pivot, you know, because you literally had no choice but to stop. Yeah. So if that relationship wasn't working before COVID, but you were ignoring that, or that job wasn't quite working and you were ignoring that, or whatever it was, it made you have to face it, because here you are now in your silence and everybody's in their silence. And you have to look at, let's say in a relationship, look at this person and be like, I don't even like you much. And maybe I don't even like myself much either.
Exactly. You know what it was? You literally had to face reality.
Reality, yeah.
You know, everything slowed down. You're no longer consumed with busyness.
Yeah.
And you had to look, you had no choice but to look at your life. And I know a lot of people made some positive transitions.
Absolutely.
You know, they transitioned into a different career. They started their own business. There were a lot of, there are a lot of things that they were able to learn and grow about themselves. And if it wasn't for the silence, everyone being on lockdown and couldn't do anything, they would probably still be repeating the same routines over and over and over again, and not really doing the things that they really desire to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I picked up a few interesting hobbies during COVID and started a few business plans, you know. It really gave me the time to, like you said, like just really focus on yourself and say, hey, like, what is it that I truly desire right now? You know, is this job right now for me? Is anything around me for me? What needs to go? What needs to stay? So yeah, truly important. So yeah.
All right. So Braylee should be logging on shortly.
Yeah. Still waiting.
All right. So you know what we'll do? Let's get her introduction out of the way. So when she comes on, we can probably get right to it.
Okay, sure. Let's do that.
Right.
Yeah, because she's a really great guest.
Yeah. All right. So Braylee Evans is an actress, philanthropist, author, and lifestyle leader. This international motivator utilizes her platform to edify, empower, and encourage women to live in their purpose with dynamic strategies fueled by self-love and passion. She has been a spokesperson for Jenny Craig, the American Heart Association, and several nonprofit organizations. She has appeared on all urban networks and has connections and connects with people as though she never met a stranger. And that is so true. And there is the lovely Braylee Evans joining us now. Perfect timing.
Question, should it be this way or this way? Am I right?
That way is right. Yeah.
Okay, I'm making sure I'm doing this right. Hello there.
Hey, Braylee. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, beautiful.
Thank you.
So great to
Likewise.
see you. We just did your introduction and you came on at perfect timing. So we are right on target.
Awesome. I was sitting in the waiting room a while. I said, well, I'll just sit here, and it doesn't allow you to look at yourself. So I was like, I hope I'm all right.
We got to do that prep before we get on, right?
You already know. Love it.
All right. So as we are on the topic of self-love, and, my sister Tanis mentioned earlier that for many people, the concept is kind of foreign,
Right.
And the question we would like to start to explore is, do we really understand what self-love is?
I don't know if we do. The saddest thing is that they really don't teach it at school. And even at church, they teach us to love God. Mm-hmm. But our parents are I guess, is our most immediate example of self-love. And that's if the parent had, took enough time to help you understand what they were even doing, or were they just doing something, right? So whether it was the time your mother took to have some me time, or whether she, or your dad, took some time away from the family to go do something for himself that didn't include everybody. And then you learn to say, oh, it's important for them to have time, to themselves to do what they enjoy. But I don't think it's like a blatantly taught thing. Yeah. So that's why this show is so important. I wanted to jump on this topic. When I heard about it, I said, yes. Oh my gosh. Is self-love selfish? No, everybody. The answer is no, but we have to teach it from, I think, the most remedial standpoint, and then level it up.
Right. But I think it's it's crazy. As long as it's been around, it's relatively a new concept.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, even when I was researching and looking, what is self-love, I bought a ton of books, and that I'm going through, what I found was that a lot of them really couldn't define it. They were able to say why you should do it, right? Why it's important, but they weren't able to define it. I did find three really good definitions I'm going to share lately, but I kind of want to get Lady T's opinion on that. Do we fully understand what self-love is?
I don't think we do. Although I'm starting to wonder if it's just really something that's extremely subjective. You kind of just make it what you want it to be for yourself. But I think a lot of people think self-love is very similar to self-care. Like, okay, I'm going to go to the spa. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to, I think people think it's more of a tangible thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas to me, it's very intangible. It's really how I view myself, how I treat myself, the standards that I set for myself, the boundaries that I put in place for myself. I think for myself, that's how I look at self-love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of like what I said before, I just kind of feel like, as old as it is, it's a newer construct, and we just need to define or figure out what it is, because it's necessary, right? We're always striving to find something called self-fulfillment, and we're always searching for things outside of ourselves for it. So that's why this series is so important, to kind of explore and figure out what it really is. So I'm going to give you guys 3 definitions that I found that resonated with me, and I would just like to get your insight on it. According to Jonathan Ashley, author of What the Heck is Self-Love Anyways, he states, self-love is our capacity to feed our spirit, fill our love cup, and feel inner peace.
Nice.
On Psych Central states that self-love means that you accept yourself fully, treat yourself with kindness and respect, and nurture your growth and well-being. And a third one, Chance Marshall, states, self-love is the ability not to fall into a puddle of shame or self-hatred even when we mess up. It's trying new things, knowing that we could fail without thinking ourselves, therefore, as failures.
I resonate with the first 2 the most. I love to describe things with positive words. So when people describe things with less than energetic words, I get a little, it kind of triggered. Yeah, I get a little triggered a bit. I'm like, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And I think that language, is another thing that we aren't taught about. We just aren't taught these things. But the first 2 that you said, I was like, yeah, I get that. I get that I am a spirit and I have a soul and I'm living in a body, and I must take care of each of those triparts that all make up me. And therefore, so to me, a little contrary to what you said, what you said a little earlier, I think it is external and it is internal. I think it's both. I think it's important to have a sense of self-love when you haven't said a word. Your spirit, your energy, even how you look, how you put yourself together says a lot about how you love yourself. And then when you speak, I think it resonates even more. You're like, oh, okay, and then people who are attracted to you, be it, just friends or even love attraction, are attracted to that more so than, your outer appearance. They're like, there's something special, something different about you. And it's like, yeah, because I spend time with myself. You know what I mean? I think that's so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first two, I really was like, yeah. And that third one, I was kind of like, I'm not sure.
I noticed that reaction too on your face. I was watching.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm an actress. Everything comes out.
I would say for me, after listening to that, I can find points in all three, in all honesty. The first one about filling our love cup and to feel inner peace, treating ourselves with kindness and respect and nurturing our growth and well-being. And also it's trying new things, knowing that we could fail without thinking of ourselves or seeing ourselves as failures. So I think it's a nice little bubble of all three, where you can kind of find your self-love. And yes, I would agree with you too as well, Braylee. I think if we feel good on the inside, it shows on the outside. That's just my subjective opinion. But
I think it's true.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, because I know when I wake up and I'm in a good mood, I just want to, you're beat in the face and you want to put on your best outfit. You just want to look great. And you have that extra pep in your step. So I think, finding that inner peace just brings beauty all around, inside and out. Yeah,
absolutely.
And don't you think that beauty inside and out is like, it's contagious?
It is.
I came onto this radio show with you guys and you're smiling, you're looking great. I'm like, oh, these are some, it's like contagious. So that's why self-love is important, because it's going to reach the people that you touch in the grocery store, at the gas station, 100%. Driving your car, when you look over, smile at someone. This thing that we have control of, this self-love, is something that makes the world a better place when we pay attention to it. So
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that when we talk about it makes the world a better place, because it's a perfect segue into my next question.
Yay.
How does society define self-love? Because I believe it's very different as to what self-love really is. The messages that we get from the world around us, how does society define self-love?
Well, being from the media, being that I'm an actress and that's what I do, of course, we all know that magazines and movies and TV shows and commercials are defining self-love as a very external, very, what do you wear, how much do you weigh kind of thing. And you don't love yourself if you're, a curvy girl. And I represent the curvy girls,
And you represent well. You represent well.
And with that being said, it's just like, unfortunately, we haven't had the powers that be understand that it's from the inside out, and which makes me want to produce, which makes me want to become a director and do more than just act and then give me material to bring alive. But now I'm looking into being part of the say, being part of, the message that's going forth, so that little brown girls like me get, from the media standpoint, what self-love can look like, you know what I mean? And not just focus on the externals.
Right. And that's what it is. And that's where the issue really lies, because we are bombarded with the external, right? That for especially our young girls, I mean, if it affects older women, the devastation that happens with the younger girls, it's really challenging, You know, how do you teach them how to overcome what they see all over the media and everywhere else, to say, you know what, you need to accept yourself for who you are. But then they look at TV or they look at media and they say, nope, unless you have this, you're not good enough. Unless you look like this, you're not beautiful. So it's a tough balance to have, you know.
Yeah.
We need more women like yourself and Tanis, and to kind of help push and let people know, hey, you know, and please direct as much movies and TV shows for everything you can, you know, to kind of help remove that, because it's devastating. We know the suicidal rate, what's happening now, you know, the self-harm that's happening. It's because of media, a lot of it. And we have another show that we're going to talk about soon. Who has the real control? You know, the media or the parents? But that's a whole subject.
Ooh, that's a good topic. That's a good topic
that we're going to be tackling. But Tanis, what do you think?
In terms of
how does society define self-love?
Oh, yes. No, I would agree. Like completely external. You know, it's about all of the tangibles. Like I said, you know, the name brands you wear, or the things you have, or the places you go to, or the things you're able to do. The money you have has a lot to do with that as well, you know. So people look outwards a lot of the time for examples of what self-love looks like, when really it's all internal, you know. It's not what everybody else is doing. And that's why I say there's a component to it that really is it's really subjective, you know, to how you see love, how you want love to show up for you in your life. And it's all about what you're willing to accept and not accept. It's like, it's so broad in its own element, but I do think that a lot of people don't know. They think they do, but then, you know, you'll see them in like really bad relationships, but they're saying, I love myself. And it's like, well, if you love yourself, why are you in this really, really bad relationship? And, you know, and accepting, you know, treatment that you wouldn't even treat your dog that way. You wouldn't even treat yourself that way. Or would you? Because if you're allowing somebody else to treat you that way, then I'm questioning how much you really love yourself. And maybe it's time to break away from that and really come back to you. So, I mean, we can incorporate that into the conversation too, because you know, I see it so often, and and I don't think people necessarily make that connection.
That's the point.
Even with their friends, right? The type of people you keep around you also informs what you're like, the level of self-love you have for yourself. Because why would you want to be hanging out with people who don't make you feel good, who are toxic, who talk about you behind your back? But because you've been friends for 20 years, 15 years, you don't want to walk away from that friendship. But how is that really serving you? How is that really allowing yourself to love yourself when you're accepting mistreatment from, you know, a friend who's been a friend for however long? Like, just things like that. Like, it's broad, but it's not, you know what I mean? And that's why initially when I started talking about it, I said, you know, it's about the standards you have, about the boundaries that you put in place. That's really important. And that's a good indicator as to where you are on that self-love spectrum, I think.
No, what you're thinking is it's like you need one of those sound buttons right here. Bum, bum, bum. That was like, okay, what you said was so on fire. I was like, this is a perfect segue for me to let you guys know I have a new song that's out, and it's called Don't Date Down. Okay. Don't date down. And when you were talking, I was like, she's describing Don't Date Down. It's a song that, you know, I found myself, sometimes you don't even know that you're unaware that you are dating down. You know, you're just thinking like, oh no, I like him, he likes me, we love the Lord and everything is great. And you're not looking deep enough because you know what you want out of life. And so you're just trying to go for the things you want. And you're not necessarily taking account to, like you said, how are people treating you? And is this really love, or is this just, you know, you just putting up with something because, you know, you want a baby and you want to do it in a marriage situation? Like, ladies, I want to just release anybody who's listening to this show right now. If you're in a toxic relationship, you know, and your partner is less than loving you, it's okay to remove yourself. Trust me, there are a billion people on in this world who are looking for you. Like, you are special. There are every little thing about you will make someone else's day. And so I just want you to be reminded that you don't have to date down to feel like, oh, I just have something, then I have someone. But no, you deserve the absolute best out of people, and they deserve your best too. So don't date down, ladies. Download that song for more information. Like, for sure.
Definitely send us a link so we can share it with our audience and listen to it ourselves, because I haven't heard it. So
oh my goodness. So yes, I will make sure of that.
All right.
Great.
All right. So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about misconceptions of what self-love is. And we kind of tapped into some of it here. One of the misconceptions, for example, is that we need a lot of money, a better job, to be in a relationship in order to be happy, which I feel relates to self-love, right? Because if you're trying to be happy, but you're pulling information, well, you're trying to find it from something else, right? You're lacking something inside. So that's a big misconception, that we need something, more money, better job, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled.
And that is so far from the truth.
So far.
Live that one 1,000 times to talk about it.
And in relation to that, kind of same thing, just broader, the misconception that we need something outside of ourselves for love to be possible. We're constantly pulling at things outside of ourselves to feel better about ourselves, depending on other people to make us feel good or feel loved or feel fulfilled. And the third one, we kind of talked about the misconception that we have to change our appearance in order to experience love and self-love, which is a big one. We know the market out there. We kind of touched on it a little bit today, where people are literally getting surgeries that are life-threatening just to look good. For who? Like, when you're trying to do the same thing that everyone else is doing, who are you doing it for? I'm not sure if you're actually doing it for self.
Social media. I recently used my social media just yesterday because I was asked to post about a young lady who was missing. That's what social media is for. It's for us to love on each other and, what I'm saying, and find ways to connect with each other. And it's not for showing our bodies and look at this, like you said, car I have, and, look at this money I have and all that. It's leading our young ones just down a rabbit hole, that's to their demise, really. And I just want to be an example that the best thing I can do as Braylee Evans in this world is be a better example for all those who are looking on, young and old, and use my platforms to uplift and remind that you are loved. You were made in love. No matter how you got to this earth, your presence was necessary for a purpose. And there's something in you that the world needs. And whether that world is just the people in your community or in your household, you are here on purpose. And there's something for you to give, right? So it's just unfortunate that social media has been abused, I should say, has been abused in a way that people are, like you said, misdefining self-love.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's impossible to find self-love and inner peace, which I hear so many people, what do you want to be happy? What do you want? Inner peace. What do you want? Joy. We're all searching for that, but we're so caught up in all of these misconceptions. And believe it or not, we could hardly blame the individuals wholly, because a lot of this is subconscious. They don't even know that that they've been programmed.
Yep.
Right?
Isn't it something? Oh,
it is deep. It is deep.
Programmed for years, and they're just going on this program way of life, not even really fully understanding why they do what they do. And I say that because in order for us to start really exploring what self-love truly is, we have to start to question why we do what we do. Because a lot
That's
of this
good.
conditioning starts when we're kids.
Yes.
It doesn't just start when we're adults or teens or, this programming starts from when we were with our parents or
That goes,
our
yeah.
caregiver. Yeah.
That goes back to what I said earlier about, what did you see when you were growing up? You guys have all heard, do what I say. You know what I'm saying? Your parents do what I say, but
Not
that's
as I do.
what you do. Yeah, we do what you do. So we're
Mhm.
watching you in a whole nother, how do you love yourself? Are you drinking and smoking and partying and then we're like looking at you passed out on the couch? You know what I'm saying? Well, that's an example,
Exactly.
Mhm.
So that's why it's important for us, like, big sisters or aunties, to really take note and say, you know what, I'm going to give them an alternative. I'm going to be something else that they can see so that they can then make a choice, do this lifestyle or this lifestyle. What seems to be working better, and that's my cry to everyone, again, that's listening is check yourself, check your self-love. And so check your example, because maybe we can create the younger generation that are coming that are, young, really young now, 5 and 6 years old. Maybe their social media can be a little more conscious and show show that self-love and being more concerned about each other and their well-being, from the inside out. And I think that would be the best solution, because I definitely like to talk solution based, because we know what's going on. It's like, what can we do to counteract all of it? And I think, like I said, this show is amazing and your topics are just on point because this is a part of us doing our part.
Yeah.
So as we focus on, really quick, on solution based, right? Because we're working on getting to that space. When I was working on these notes and everything, something came to my mind. In relationships, we spend a lot of time loving someone else.
Yes.
In relationships, sometimes we're loving their potential. And as I was writing and making notes, I was like, what would it look like if we if we loved our potential?
Ooh.
So into us, because we do that for men a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We put up with so much, but what would it look like? I just got chills just even saying that,
Yes.
What would it look like if we turned that around and gave some of that love to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes when we're trying to give love out, we're expecting it back in return. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, right?
Ooh.
So how can we, just turn that around? I'm going to love my potential. No, I'm not there yet. I'm not perfect. There's some things that I'd like to work on, but my potential is worth loving, just as we would do to another person.
I think you have said a mouthful right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's going to cause the level of relationships that we experience to change. Because I just think when someone is not vibing on your same wavelength, they can't even get with you. Like they can't even, when you zig, they'll zag.
Yeah.
They don't want to even be in the space that you're in because you're vibrating so high and you're so in love with yourself.
Yeah.
Not from a conceited standpoint do I mean in love with myself, but when I cherish the words that are coming out of my mouth, when I take time to think before I speak, when I take time to meditate and pray and know that God is not the man in the sky, that he is literally in me, that I am made in his image, and that all the things that are promised in the Bible and in the word or whatever your, spiritual guidance system may be, that is coming from inside of me and not out in this big world, I think we're going to make better choices in mates. And so with me, so I had that experience, and that's what caused me to write a song called Don't Date Down, is that I, saw my top clock ticking, and there was a gentleman who came and he seemed to, be on the same wavelength, I thought, as I was. But as I take 2020, that hard look back, I'm like, Braylee, you were not loving yourself, because guess what? You couldn't even see that if someone doesn't do for themselves, they would never do for you.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes our self-love needs to stop and take a reflection and really evaluate what we see. I thought, oh, he doesn't buy new shoes and clothes and stuff because he's frugal, and that's really good in a marriage. Oh, he has an old car because he's taking care of that one, so he doesn't need a new car. But did I ever think, well, he'll never buy you those things? and and as you buy yourself those things and you love on yourself, it was an issue, it was a problem. And it was because we didn't share the same type of self-love. We didn't vibrate on that same, wavelength. And God bless him. I pray that someone, on that wavelength with him, they can grow together. But I happen to be, much, beyond where we were at the time. But I was struggling. It was called struggle love, is what they call it.
Oh, yes. We did 2 shows on that.
Yeah. I was struggling to, create something that just simply wasn't there. And it's just like, all right, I have to ask myself, how much did you love yourself when you saw these things, but you just kept moving forward, knowing, I swear my eyes were wide open, but I said, well, God, I think you do everything so perfectly that you allowed me to have the experience because you knew your daughter would definitely talk about it, would definitely, be an open book and transparent and say, you know what, guys? Hey, this experience I had, I don't want any of you to experience it. There was a time when I did not love myself. Okay. Nobody likes to say those true hard facts.
Exactly.
I completely, was just going for this thing and what society and social media told me that I needed to be doing. And I went for that and it ended up not working because I found love for myself. And guess what I found love for myself in doing? Therapy.
Hey, yes.
Therapy. God bless those who sat with us and who sat with me personally. They had me those introspective moments that they gave homework on. They said, I want you to sit and I want you to write these things. I want you to think about this. And I started growing in these sessions. And, it became a point where you find out silence is golden. Like you've heard it all your life. But sometimes when you just begin to quiet yourself, you can see clearer. And when you can see clear, you can make better decisions. And so that happens to be a part of my self-love story, is that as I quieted myself, I was able to see clearer and make better decisions for my life.
I have one question, because there was a transition that you said, from non-self-love to self-love. What was it that made you say, okay, wait a minute, I need to switch this up? What was the thing that caused you to turn in another direction?
I really wanted a better relationship. I knew we were, a young marriage and only a year in. So it was like brand new. And I was like, this shouldn't be going like this. And I really wanted us to communicate better. And so as we sought out help, and begin to dig deep into our past and dig deep into, what this really means to each one of us. I think one thing one of the therapists said was when two people are arguing and someone is looking from afar, they don't know who the fool is. So you both look foolish. So she told me, stay out of the ring. Don't get in the ring. When someone wants to go belligerent, you stay out of the silent. Be silent. And so I said, I don't want nobody ever thinking of me as a fool. Like I have a national platform. I don't want to ever, come. And I think I don't want to come across that way. And I take my responsibility of being a celebrity or a known person, a popular person. I take it seriously. I think it's a gift, and I don't want to lead anybody astray. I just don't. And so with that being it, I had to get myself together. And I think that was it. When she said that one thing kind of triggered me like, oh, okay, let me get it together because this isn't who I want to be. And so that's why I think, a lot of people in our community don't talk about therapy. And we think, oh, well, nothing's wrong with me, but you'll be surprised what you can uncover about yourself and your upbringing that you say, wow, I didn't even understand I was making decisions based on a little 6-year-old whose dad didn't come pick them up one day. You know what I'm saying? That's not my story.
Yes,
I actually grew up with both my parents in my home. But, there are still things that caused me, even with having both of my parents who are still married today. That's why I wanted to be married so bad. Is because I was like, well, my parents have this 45-year, my whole life. They've done this thing. This is all I know. So I should be doing this. I shouldn't be out here dating guy to guy and whatever. I want to be with one man, have a family, and do this thing. But again, making choices from desperation is going to always lead you down a rabbit hole. I keep calling it that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like unconscious programming.
Yes.
You just laid it out, and we have to tap into that for us to understand ourselves, period, point blank.
Yeah.
Because there are these programmings, just like you described when I heard you talk about your parents and you have to do this because your parents did that. That was, you were going on a program.
Yeah.
Without even realizing it.
Not even realizing it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we need to recognize that we are role models, right? And everything we do, whether we think so or not, or regardless of a child's age, they take on that energy. I can remember being little and not really understanding the situation, but still knowing there was something not so right about that situation. And then growing up to experience it and having that same gut feeling kind of come back to me in those moments. Mm-hmm. So it's so subconscious, the programming. And that's why it's important to, feed your child with positivity and have them only see positivity. And I don't believe in arguing in front of children. Right. More so because I don't want them to take on that energy. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially some, men who I've been with, they have no problem. And I'm like, no, I don't want my children to see that. I don't want them to think it's okay to go back and forth and argue and because that's not even how I like to have a disagreement. I like to just have a disagreement and talk it through and get to the solution. And that's what I'm trying to instill in them. If it's going to become this higher kind of hostile situation, I'll rather do that away from them because I don't want them to take on that energy. Mm-hmm. So it is really important. And as you said, you saw, your parents together and love on one another or not, I don't know, throughout their 45-year marriage. So you wanted naturally what it is that they had. Mm-hmm. It makes absolute perfect sense. Mm-hmm. But the whole therapy is so important, and we speak a lot about therapy throughout this show. I think every week we mention it at least once. Because we've both had to go through our own, and just like you, it was through my therapeutic journey where I learned truly how to love myself, and operate in that. And one of the things you said, actually, I kind of chuckled, Braylee, because you said, I don't want to sound conceited. And a lot of the times we don't want to big up ourselves, even if it is, like, hey, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that, because we're afraid of how other people are going to view us. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we shouldn't care. Like, it's okay. Like, if you want to toot your own horn, girl, go for it. Yeah. Like, I'm all for it. If I have a problem with that, then I need to look within myself.
Yeah. Come on.
Straight.
Right. That's good. That's good.
All right. So I know we're running out a little bit of time, so I want to touch on, that's okay. I want to touch on two things before we go, because you kind of touched on it earlier. I think Braylee mentioned it about being selfish. Is self-love selfish?
Absolutely, it is. And selfishness is wonderful. I don't know where we got this notion that being having self-love or being selfish is bad. No, you must be selfish with your time. You're never going to get it back. Mm-hmm. You're never going to get that time back. You got to be selfish okay. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, and I'm a Christian girl. I always take it back to the word. Love yourself as you love your neighbor. Mm-hmm. I said it wrong. It's love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because I wanted to just put myself first. That's why I said it wrong. But it's love your neighbor as you love yourself. What that means is, however you're loving yourself, that's how you're going to love the person who is your neighbor. So it shows up in your mother-daughter relationships, father-son, vice versa, friend relationships, love relationships. This thing is going to keep showing up. So self-love has to be selfish so that you can pay attention to it. So therefore, you're going to be giving out this incredible amount of love to the people who you encounter. So I want everyone hearing this to make the word selfish into a positive. That negative connotation, no, this is mine, everything's for me. No, make it about loving yourself from the inside out in every single way. Be selfish with yourself, because that way, like what Lady T was saying, you don't you set boundaries with that self-love.
Right.
It's going to create the boundaries automatically because you're selfish with your time, your energy. If you're coming and you're less than energetic, like I said, you're going to zig, one's going to zag. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So that's really good. I've never heard this said this way before, which kind of goes with what you're saying, Braylee. Michael Cavallero, he describes unhealthy selfishness and healthy selfishness.
I like
and
it.
I think that's where we kind of get a little confused. Like, when is it unhealthy and when is it healthy? So he says,
that's good.
There is unhealthy selfishness, which takes physically, mentally, spiritually, or emotionally from others for personal gain.
Ooh,
it feeds off of someone else. Healthy selfishness is self-care, self-love. It is being loving enough to care for yourself first and foremost.
Love it.
Put a bow on that, honey. Get a tattoo of that. That's a good one. That's a great way to describe it. It's healthy and unhealthy because I love being selfish because as I get older, I'm thinking my time is precious. So don't waste my time with things that are unnecessary. You know, I don't even want to see an unnecessary text message. Okay. But it's like, that's a waste of my time to even think about. Like, so I want everyone to feel that way because then I'm mindful of what I text people because I know how I feel about my time being wasted. So I'm like, you know what? That's probably better left unsaid. Don't sweat the small stuff. You know, I'm getting to that place where everything is valuable. Everything is, I mean, this next breath we're taking, our hearts are yet beating right now. Our cells are regenerating right in this moment. We have no time to waste, you know? I want everyone to live their best lives and be selfish with yourself so that you can love the people you encounter all the more.
Yeah. So as we're kind of a little low on time, I do want to leave some advice for our audience in the vein of positivity. What advice would you give someone that's seeking or don't even know that they're not loving self? In positivity and in love, what advice would you say to someone right now who might be hurting, might be in a horrible relationship, might be dissatisfied, they don't have any sense of self-fulfillment or joy inside? What would be an advice or some advice that you ladies would share as a first step or the first steps leading into finding self-love?
Speak to someone, you know, sometimes you just don't know where to start. And I think it's really important to speak to someone, whether that be a trusted friend or family member, or whether that be, you know, if you have the funds, go to therapy. Like we said, you know, speak to someone and try to unpack, or you will actually, if you sit with a therapist in particular, just start to unpack what's happened. And it may seem very small why you go, and you'll be surprised of all the other things that come to the platform that you didn't know was there. And then from there, you just start the healing process. And it's okay, you know, that too shall pass. It's very difficult in the beginning to face and come to terms with a lot of things. But as you continue to go through that process, I'm telling you, the weight that is lifted from the top of your head is it's priceless. It truly is. And it's life-changing. And I speak very frequently on therapy, even on my IG platform. I'm always posting this about therapy and that, and it's because I want people to recognize, like, don't be afraid of it. You don't have to be quote unquote crazy. I don't like that word, but that's what people think. Like, there isn't anything wrong with me. But when you take a step back and you look at your life on a whole, and you're like, why have I been in and out of, you know, friendships, relationships? Why don't me and my mom can get along? How come I don't talk to my dad? How come this? How come that? There are reasons why these things are happening, and it's, you got to take the time to really dig deep. So I will always preach therapy, go, you know, and start to unpack, start to uncover, and start to live your best life, because I guarantee you will, if you find the right therapist. And that's the other piece too. You have to find a therapist that works for you, because not all will.
Really?
And for me, I just want to lovingly say, take a moment, get silent, meditate. If you don't know what meditation is, get on Google, Get on YouTube, find some guided meditations, and they have them that are about self-love or any topic that you're going through.
I'm actually working on a guided meditation album right now.
So
I
proud
can't
of
wait to
you.
share. Yeah, it's
I'm
cool.
so proud of you. That is
Thank
amazing.
you.
And you have a great voice for it too.
Yes, see that perfect voice. Perfect.
Doesn't she?
Absolutely.
I'm going to be like one of the first, so please let me know when that comes out.
I definitely will.
Because we need to hear those loving voices that are speaking to us, reminding us of who we are.
Yes.
And I also wrote a book last year called The ABCs of I Am. And God put that book on my heart because by no means am I an English major. I was like, God, I can't write a book. It's not my thing. And he's like, no, the people need it. The people who are attached to you, the people who hear your voice, I need them to get this message. And so the book is simply a book of I ams, and it goes from 5 A's, 5 B's. You know, there's 5 words for every letter. It's and anybody from kindergarten to a PhD can use this book. It is a tool. I like to tell people to grab the book and turn it to any page. Just let the spirit just land it somewhere. And I promise that I am that's on that particular page is going to meet you right where you are. And even if it just simply says, I am nice. Because when God gave me that, I said, now God, that is so like kindergarten. I am nice, really? He said, no. You know what I heard, you guys? I heard that the husband who picks up the book happens to turn to the page on the day he just said something terrible to his wife. And the I am book says, I am nice. And in my book literally tells you, speak this aloud. So you have to read out loud, I am nice. It's going to put that person in a reflective moment, and it's going to cause them to want to go apologize. It's going to cause them to want to shift that energy, shift that being in that moment. So getting tools like that. So my book, and there's several other books that are out there, really learn about, like in church, I grew up in church. We talked about prayer all the time. They never really talked about meditating. They never really talked about, instead of talking about what your problem is, how about getting quiet and remembering that I am whole? I have everything I need inside me. I am perfect. I am wonderfully made. I am a genius. I am, like just building yourself up, having that time, quiet time with yourself, saying your I ams. To get in the mirror, say your I ams. I am beautiful. I am a perfect weight. Look at my beautiful skin, my beautiful face. Whatever it is you need to big yourself up about, start with you. And when you start to do that, you'll notice that people in your world begin to see you in the same way.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to say one thing really quickly. My advice for starting out is to be open to relearning who you are. Be open to relearning who you are, because a lot of times what we think we are is not who we really are. A lot of times people say this or say that, and you've taken it on and you've accepted it, but that's not who you are. So if you just start to be open up as a blank slate and say, who am I? Who do I want to become? What type of person? How do I want to show up in this universe? How do I want to show up in the world? That's a good place to start. Braylee Evans, you have been, there's so much more notes and everything else I have here that we didn't get to go through, but it's been a blessing to have you. Your energy is awesome. Absolutely. I love that you're using your celebrityism for the right reasons, and that you understand the power that you have in that position to make positive changes in people's life, male and female. And I love it. I send you nothing but love and light. Always. We'll love to have you back on the show if you have time and availability. And I'm sure definitely send us your links to your book, to your song, that we can share on our social media and so forth. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Braylee. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that wraps up part 1 of our self-love series. Love it. So each Sunday at the end of the month, the last Sunday in every month, is when we are going to do our self-love series. So looking forward to part 2 at the end of April 21st. April 21st. Love it. So thank you once again to Braylee for coming on. And we just want to say goodbye. Next show coming up is Honey Drop with Lucia D. And after that, it is Soul Sessions with DJ Sessions. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Love and light.
This is Felicia Temple, and you're listening to iLive